Back to the morning when in leaves. The morning she left Seoul felt colder than usual. She didn't cry, not even when airplane windows showed the sky fading behind a curtain of clouds. Some goodies don't need tears, they carry a quiet ache that settles deep, one that time doesn't immediately heal. She looked down at the letter she had left him. She had rewritten it 3 times before finally deciding to keep it simple. There were 1,000 things she wanted to say, but she knew none of them would change the truth. They were from 2 different worlds. So she had left silently as she had entered, unnoticed by the world, but not, she hoped, by him. Back in India, life slowed down. The noise of schedules and spotlights was replaced with the hum of everyday life, local trains, street vendors, festivals. She stayed quiet for months, trying to forget, but some memories don't fade. They just settle in softer corners of the heart. At first, she avoided music altogether. Every song on the radio felt like a reminder. Every melody, a shadow of what once was. The days that followed were hard. She had left a stable job, something she had worked her entire life for. But she knew she couldn't stay in a world that constantly reminded her of him, yet demanded she pretend he meant nothing. So she started small again, freelance makeup work, bridal shoots, even students' fashion shows. It was exhausting, humbling, but slowly healing. The noise of her past began to quiet, replaced by a new rhythm, one built from peace, not pain. Still, at night, she'd sometimes scroll through social media and see his photos, new album teasers, fan meetings, concert clips. She'd smile softly at the screen, proud but wistful. He looks tired, she thought once, but he's still carrying it all. She never commented, never liked a post, just quietly watched, the way she always had. After a few months, she joined a local studio, not as an idol's makeup artist this time, but as an assistant in bridal and film projects. It wasn't glamorous, but it was hers. Day by day, her skill grew. Soon her name began circulating among clients. She's talented, calm, and her work feels natural, they said. She smiled at that because it reminded her of the same compliment he had once given her after a show: "You don't hide beauty under makeup, you bring it out." There were nights when the memories still surfaced, like uninvited guests she didn't have the heart to turn away. Sometimes she'd stand on her terrace, looking at the moon, wondering if he ever thought of her too, not as the girl who worked backstage, but as the person who had quietly cared for him beyond the fame. But she never tried to contact him, not because she didn't want to, but because she had promised herself to let him live freely, without the shadow of what they could have been. Instead, she put all her emotions into her art. Each face she painted, each smile she helped create, it all became part of her healing. And before she realized it, years had passed. Her name appeared in beauty magazines. She was invited to workshops across cities. She had become known as one of the most talented young makeup artists in India. People said she was living her dream, but only she knew, a part of her dream had once worn a microphone and stood under blinding lights. It was a quiet Sunday. She had just finished a bridal shoot and was scrolling through her phone when a video appeared on her feed. Jungkook, behind the stage lights, official music video. Her hand froze. The thumbnail showed him sitting by a piano, the same soft expression she remembered. For a moment, she hesitated, then placed play. The melody was gentle, haunting, familiar. Each line felt like a whisper from the past. "You were the quiet light behind the stage, fixing every crack I tried to hide. Your hands were steady, mine were shaking, but you'd laugh and say, 'You will be fine.'" Her breath caught. He hadn't mentioned a name, but every word, every note felt like a secret message, one only she could understand. Every lyric felt like it was written from their shared silence. The references were subtle, almost invisible to the world, but to her they were everything. The backstage lights, the coffee cup, the mirror, the quiet goodbyes. The part that broke her the most was near the end. I hope wherever you are, the world feels kind again. And if you ever hear this song, know that I did feel it too. Tears slipped down her face silently. For years she had buried the etch beneath work, dreams, and smiles. But hearing those words, it was as if all the walls she'd built began to soften. That night she sat by her mirror, the same way she used to sit backstage a year ago, except now she wasn't fixing anyone else's face. She was looking at her own. She smiled through her tears. It wasn't sadness anymore, it was gratitude. He had remembered, not the fame, not the makeup, not the chas, but her. And that was enough. She opened her journal and wrote it. We were never meant to stay together, but we were meant to change each other. Maybe love isn't about holding on, maybe it's about leaving light behind. The video became a global hit. Fans praised its emotion, its raw simplicity. Interviewers asked Jungkook about the inspiration behind it. He never revealed her name, only smiled and said, "It's a story that taught me how to see the light differently." Somewhere in India, she watched that interview and whispered back at the screen, "I am glad you did." Months later, she attended an award ceremony, her first big recognition for her work. The anchor introduced her as India's rising artist, redefining natural beauty. As she stepped on stage to receive the trophy, flashes of her journey crossed her mind: the airport goodbye, the silent nights, the rediscovery, the song. And in that moment, she realized she didn't lose anything. She had found herself. The crowd applauded, cameras flashed, and somewhere across the world, maybe he too smiled unknowingly, sensing that the girl who once stood quietly behind him had finally found her own spotlight. In Seoul, Jungkook performed the song Live for the first time. The stage was dark except for a single spotlight. No backup dancers, no flashing visuals, just him and a piano. Behind the stage lights, see. Verse 1, you were the quiet light behind the stage, fixing every crack I tried to hide. Your hands were steady, mine were shaking, but you'd laugh and say, you will be fine. I didn't see the way you held my world together when it all felt too loud. I didn't see, but you did, and you stayed without needing a crowd. Pre-chorus, you were right there, and I was blind, lost in dreams I thought were mine. Didn't know your silence was goodbye, didn't know I'd break when you left my side. Chorus, sudden singing to the coasts of Oz, to the girl I never learned to love enough. Every step I take still leads me to you, but you are gone, and I am the reason why you withdrew. If you heard this sung somewhere tonight, I hope you know you were my guiding light. You were the one I didn't know I loved, until you walked away. Verse 2, I searched for you in empty rooms, in mirror lights and fading tunes. I kept your brush, the one you left, the last piece of you that I have kept. They say time heals what you can't repair, but time just shows me you are not there. And I still talk to your memory, like you could somehow hear me. I hope wherever you are, the world feels kind again. And if you ever hear this song, know that I did feel it too. Chorus, if I could turn the hours back, I'd run to you before you packed. I'd say the words I kept inside, I'd never let you leave that night. Chorus, sudden singing to the coasts of Oz, to the girl I never learned to love enough. Every step I take still leads me back to you, but you are gone, and I am the reason why you withdrew. If you hear this sung somewhere tonight, I hope you know you were my guiding light. You were the one I didn't know I loved, until you walked away. Bridge. Maybe you're painting skies in some new city, maybe you've forgotten all the days with me. But I'll keep every moment we made, like colors that never fade. And if fate lets our roads touch again, I hope I can be the one you deserve then. Final chorus, I'm still singing to the ghosts of us, to the girl who taught me what love really was. Even if you never hear this melody, you will always be the missing part of me. If tonight this song finds its way to you, I hope you smile like you used to. You were the one I didn't know I loved, until loving you was too late. Until loving you was too late. Halfway through his voice faltered slightly, barely noticeable to the audience, but enough for those who knew his story to sense the emotions beneath it. Everyone sees the light, he murmured after the song ended, almost like a confession, but not the person who helped me carry it. Fans cheered, thinking it was poetic, but for him it was closure. That night, after the concert, he stood alone backstage again, the same place where she once handed him tissues, fixed his mic, and whispered encouragement no one else ever did. His hand slipped into his jacket pocket and closed around something familiar, a folded letter, edges soft from being opened too many times. It was the letter he wrote for her long ago, the one he never sent. He hesitated for a moment, then slowly unfolded it. The crease lines trembled in his hands as he began to read. To the girl who taught me how to see myself clearly, I don't know if this letter will ever reach you, but I want hope at least my words will. You left quietly, so quietly that at first I didn't even understand what I had lost. You always said you didn't want to disturb my world, but you never realized you were the part of my world that made everything feel real. Every morning you waited backstage with that small smile, fixing my makeup while fixing my doubts without even knowing. You believed in me when I couldn't carry the weight of my own dreams. And yet, I never told you that your presence was the only place I felt safe. When you disappeared, I kept telling myself you'd come back tomorrow, then next week, then maybe once the tour ended. But you never did. And suddenly the world felt louder and emptier at the same time. I used to think love was something that happens dramatically, but with you, it happened quietly, like the way someone slowly learns to breathe without realizing they were drowning before. I should have said something. I should have stopped you. I should have told you that I needed you for more than you ever needed me. But I was too late. That's why I wrote the song, not to bring you back, but to give you the truth I never had the courage to say. I missed you. I still miss you. And every version of my future felt incomplete without the version that had you in it. Wherever you are, I hope you're smiling the way you used to when you talked about your dreams. I hope you found a world that didn't make you feel like you had to walk away quietly. And I hope you were not a temporary chapter in my story. You were the part I keep trying to write again, even though I know nothing else will feel the same. Jungkook. He had written her name softly at the end, for you in. By the time he reached the last line, his eyes were burning. A single tear slipped down and landed on her name, blurring the ink just a little. He refolded the letter gently like it was something fragile and alive. He smiled faintly. "You'd scold me for crying right now," he said softly. "You'd probably say my eyeliner's going to smudge." On the other side, in Mumbai, it was raining. In sat by her window watching raindrops trail down the glass. The same song played quietly on her phone again behind the stage lights. She whispered to the rain, "I am happy you found your way, Jungkook. That's all I ever wanted." A single tear fell, but it wasn't sadness, it was gratitude. She turned off the music and looked at her mirror, the same one she had carried through all her struggles. Her reflection smiled back, stronger, wiser, and at peace. The city lights of Seoul glimmered below, far away from the quiet streets of Mumbai wherein now lived. The years had stretched between them like a gentle river, along winding, but never erasing, what had once existed. Jungkook walked backstage at another world tour, older, calmer, but with the same quiet edge he had carried since her departure. He paused for a moment, gazing at the empty chair in the corner of the dressing room, the spot she had once stood. A faint smile tugged at his lips. She was out there somewhere, living, smiling. Half a word away, in adjusted the lighting in her new studio. Her reputation had grown beyond what she had imagined: workshops, brand collaborations, and hundreds of satisfied clients. Yet, when a familiar song played softly in her mind, she paused, remembering a piano, a backstage, a quiet presence that had changed her life. Neither of them reached out. Neither needed to. Sometimes life doesn't give second chances in the way we imagine, but it does give the small, perfect moments of recognition: a note, a song, a memory that shines brightly in the darkness. And as she looked out of her window at the fading sunset, it whispered to the quiet city, "Thank you for everything." Across the oceans, Jungkook turned his guitar in a quiet backstage room, humming a line he had written long ago. "Behind the stage lights, someone saw me." And that was enough. They had moved on, they had grown, and yet, in the corners of their hearts, the light they had given each other still lingered, warm, untouchable, eternal. Sometimes love isn't about holding on. Sometimes it's about leaving a light behind, bright enough for both to carry forward, no matter the distance, no matter the years. And in that silence, they were together again, in memory, in understanding, in the quiet peace that comes from knowing someone once saw you completely and cherished you still. Years would pass. Both would go on, their lives filled with new people, new dreams, new places. But somewhere, between the noise of fame and the quiet of everyday life, they'd always remain connected, not through touch, not through words, but through memory. Because sometimes the deepest love stories aren't about staying together, they were about seeing each other completely, even if it's just once in a lifetime. And in some hidden corners of his next album, tucked within the lyrics credits, fans would someday notice a faint line written in English: "For the girl who saw me behind the stage lights." And when the stage finally fell silent, one truth remained: even after the lights dim, some memories never fade. Author's pub. Idols are more than the lights, the performances, and the perfect image we see on stage. Behind every smile and every song they are human, with feelings, struggles, and dreams just like us. It's as easy to get caught up in the stories we imagine for them, to wish for our own ending in their lives. But sometimes the most compassionate thing we can do is step back, respect their journey, and wish them happiness just as we would for anyone we cared about. If one day they find someone who truly makes them happy, let's celebrate that joy instead of holding on to a story that isn't ours to live. Let's remember, they deserve love, peace, and all the happiness this world can give. Just live you and me. Because respecting their humanity is one of the greatest ways we can show love. Let's cherish the music, the art, and the light they share, while also respecting the life behind the stage.